Hey, this is Bill Simmons from the Bill Simmons Podcast, here to tell you that Michelob Ultra, the official beer partner of the NBA, is bringing NBA fans closer than ever this season with chances to win great prizes, including courtside tickets. Enter now at michelobultra.com/courtside. Michelob Ultra Courtside 25 to 26. No purchase necessary. Open to U.S. residents 21 plus. Begins on October 1st, 2025 and ends on June 30th, 2026. Multiple entry periods. See official rules at michelobultra.com/courtside for free entry deadlines, prizes, and details.
We all love a legendary comeback, and Degree Original Cool Rush is back and better than ever. Cool Rush isn't just a scent, it's a movement, a fan favorite that delivers bold, fresh vibes and all-day sweat protection. Whether you have a man that spends hours in the gym, heads into the office early, or is just trying to stay fresh on a long day, Cool Rush has their back. Head to your local Walmart or Target and grab Degree Cool Rush, the fan favorite scent from the world's #1 antiperspirant brand.
Hello, my name is Damon Friedman, co-founder and president of SOF Missions. As a 20-year veteran within Special Operations, I've gone through many challenges due to my military service and time in combat. We felt called to start SOF Missions to serve our fellow brothers and sisters in arms, focusing on suicide prevention and resiliency. Our mission at SOF Missions is to empower warriors to find purpose and be resilient. Since 2011, when we started the organization, almost 3 million men and women have deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan. Unfortunately, the scars of war take a toll on their psychological, physical, social, and spiritual health. Many veterans feel a sense of hopelessness and a loss of purpose when they return to civilian life. They feel isolated and alone, unable to reconnect. And in the greatest of tragedies, over 20 veterans lose all hope and take their own lives. Our goal at SOF Missions is to provide veterans the tools and resources so that they don't become a statistic. We offer a unique approach to combating veteran suicide through a whole health, intradisciplinary model. The Be Resilient program is a 4-pillar methodology that addresses the areas of psychological, physical, social, and spiritual wellness. We provide care through 3 delivery methods: medical clinics, retreats, and educational training. Since we started back in 2011, we have been able to reach veterans in all 50 states and have served over 3,000 veterans through the Be Resilient program. Being resilient is a multifaceted and complex issue. We know that to find a lasting solution, we have to address the whole warrior. Many challenges cannot be solved by providing the treatments and modalities of just one component, but by tackling them all. Now, we've expanded our services to include law enforcement and first responders. Together, we can make a lasting impact in the lives of warriors across the nation. To learn more, visit our website at sofmissions.org.
All right. Welcome back.
MisFitNation, the MisFitNation show.
We are a show founded by a veteran and hosted by 2 veterans and a military spouse. Our mission is to get people to tell their stories to the world. If you're an author, share your tips with the Misfit Nation. If you're a musician or an actor, our audience needs to know how they too can get into the business. Coaches, we love our coaches. Come on and share your tips with the Misfit Nation to help them become better versions of themselves. If you are a corporate leader or an entrepreneur, come on and show how you did it and how hard you have fought for success. If you are a veteran, first responder, or Gold Star family, we would love to have you come on and share your story with the Misfit Nation. We always have time for you. If you're feeling down, alone, or starting to see the darkness, stop. Think about those who are around you. You are not alone. You will be missed. If you feel like your problems will be a burden to those in your inner circle or feel embarrassed, dial 988. If you are a veteran, take option 1. We need you to keep pushing forward. Don't make a permanent solution to a temporary problem. If you are a new listener, welcome to the Misfit Nation show. Be sure to subscribe to our show on your favorite podcast app. Also on our YouTube channel at @_MisFitNation. Subscribe and click the bell to keep you up to date on our latest episodes and all of our news. You can also find us on Heroes Media Group and About Face Radio. Now, let's get to the show!
All right. Welcome back to the Misfit Nation, your Sunday after dinner show. We know you have other places you could be tonight, but you choose to hang out with us, and we appreciate everything you do for us here at the Misfit Nation. Thanks for keeping on, collecting on those freaking flyer miles, and being part of the Misfit Nation. Tonight we have a great guest, but before we get there, we have some solemn news again. Tonight, please remember Deputy Sheriff Terry Sweeting Mashkow, Indian River County Sheriff's Office, Florida. End of watch Friday, November 21st, 2025. Remember to keep her family, her friends, her peers, and of course, her community in your thoughts and prayers as they go through this sudden change. We don't need the violence and these crimes to keep going on, and their families know when they put those uniforms on daily. And she was in service for 25 years, so it's a long time as a police officer serving and protecting her community. They knew one day this could happen, and on the 21st it did happen. So let's keep them in your thoughts and prayers as they move through this difficult time of life and sudden change. But tonight on the Misfit Nation, we welcome a Marine whose life story spans combat, justice, family, recovery, and reinvention. He enlisted in the Marines in 1966, serving with the 1st Marines in Vietnam, where he was battle-tested and promoted in country. Afterwards, he became a Marine JAG officer and later spent 40 years practicing law across upstate New York. In retirement, he has become an author, an Appalachian Trail hiker, and a dedicated member of the recovery community. His life reflects service, resilience, and the ongoing journey to find meaning. So without further ado, let's welcome Rand Timmerman to the Misfit Nation show. Welcome, Rand.
Thank you, Rich. That was very nice. Appreciate it.
It's great to have you here and great to connect. And you're right down the road here in Knoxville tonight, so we shouldn't have too much, time delay on us. So, Rand, I gave basically the elevator pitch speech about you right there. We'd love for you to tell a little more about your life to the Misfit Nation, from as far back as you want to go to how we got on this road to here.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, I know you like the spiritual angle, and that was part of my story, and then it wasn't. My brother Ron and I grew, and my sister Linda, and then a younger brother Marty. We grew up in a very rural village in upstate New York called Adams. 2,500 people, hasn't changed a whole lot. More cows than people. And somewhere around 5 years old, I kind of started looking around. I thought, you know what? If there's a God, he's really done a number on us. We're screwed. My dad had been a Mustang pilot during World War II and came home, married our mother, had me, my brother, and then got polio. A lot of people don't realize polio was devastating in the 40s and 50s. And he was in an iron lung for 8 months, a year in a hospital, but he managed to survive. Like I said, he was paralyzed from the waist down, very hardworking man. I have no idea what my father was like before that, but it had to have had a real impact on him. And I do know that from the stories, he was depressed and stuff. And then we had uncles that served in World War II. So we kind of came from a warrior family. Our mother was a pretty spiritual person and really encouraged us to go to church. And I was always kind of baffled by God, this loving God. And then, well, not so much. And then we were very, very poor, and I was hungry a lot. And, I would steal candy bar and so anyway, eventually I wanted out of Dodge, to be very honest about it. I could not wait to grow up. That was my dream. But, and I trapped and hunted and worked on farms and all that kind of stuff. So I had a really pretty good childhood in a way, very disciplined. Our father was very strict on that. And Ronnie, when he graduated a year behind me, he went in he enlisted in the Army right away. But I went to a university called Oswego University in upstate New York, and I was worked up there. Have no money. I'm a janitor from midnight to 8 o'clock in the morning. I'm a pin setter in a bowling alley, selling Amway products, and I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. And I changed my major like 3 times. And then finally I changed it to psychology because I knew it was a nut job. I just didn't have any idea what I wanted to be, but I sure as heck didn't want to be doing what I was doing. And I had an affinity for alcohol. I realized that at 13 years, first time I drank it was Jim Beam. I found a bottle of Jim Beam in the basement we had gone to for a party, my first party ever. I'm 13 years old. I'm like 5'7", 190 pounds, acne. I got clothes with patches on them, shoes with holes in them. I am so self-conscious and really feel unworthy. You know what I mean? We found that bottle, me and another boy, and man, I took that first mouthful and it was like, how can anybody drink this stuff? And then I got that, I'll never forget it. I got that warm glow right through my body. And all of a sudden I'm 6'4", I'm handsome, I'm sexy, I'm smart, I'm funny, I'm Clint Eastwood. I mean, I'm like, this was the most amazing thing. Got very drunk that night. Walked home, crawled home basically from tree to tree. I couldn't make it from one tree to the next, but I remember and I didn't get sick. It was very strange. I did not get sick, but I could hear my father the next morning working out in the garage, and I went out there because I knew I had to fess up and stood way back because you never knew for sure what was going to happen. But all he said was, well, David's in the hospital and don't ever do that again. So, and I knew I wanted to. Oh man, I can't wait. But I couldn't for a long time. It wasn't a real problem, but I bring that up now because it became a real problem much later. And so for me to get in the military, I was in Oswego. It was in the wintertime. And I went into a bar. I would save up my change to have a little party. You know what I mean? Yeah. And Monday morning, I hear somebody putting a key in the lock to the door of the bar that I'm in by myself, laying on the pool table. And the owner comes in, and I mean, he knows I'm there. He never said a word to me, Rich.
Oh,
but he
wow.
went over, started cleaning glasses and stuff, and he turned on the radio, and they're talking about 1st Marine Division going into Vietnam. And they were talking about the kill ratio and, how patriotic the war was and our soldiers. And I made the decision right there. And a month later, I'm in the War Memorial in Syracuse, New York, pledging to serve my country against enemies, foreign and domestic. And a little while later, I'm on a bus to Paris Island.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Quick.
And we got down there. I'm wearing a Hawaiian shirt. I got blue jeans. I got a jean jacket. We get down there. It's March. And they weren't ready for us. The Marine Corps exploded. A lot of people don't realize this in terms of manpower. It was around 200,000, which is about what it is today. But during the Vietnam War, it went up to 1 million pretty quickly. When we got there, they had dropped the training cycle from 12 weeks down to 8. But the first week, I'm standing in there. You know what they've got me doing in my civilian clothes? Cleaning toilets.
Oh, man.
I remember standing there with a rag looking out the window. I want to be out there. And the new recruits are out there marching in their utilities with their wooden rifles because they didn't have enough rifles. So for drill, they would use wooden rifles. And we were in World War II barracks. And about 6 months later, I'm in Camp Pendleton, getting ready to go overseas. So I've trained with all these guys. And the day before we were going to leave, well, 2 things happened. One was pretty funny. I'm a Timmerman, and I was always seen to be the last platoon in the last company in the last squad. So a lot of times 1,250 guys would go through whatever happened before I did. I was always seemed to be like last, which was kind of a benefit in a way, right? Because the Marine Corps, they never told you what you're going to do. Never. In those days. I think it's changed now. Because they wanted you to be ready for anything. So they marched us to outside of a hangar on this huge parade deck, and they reversed the battalion. And I'm not last, I'm first. So I walk in the door, go down a hallway, turn, go down another hallway, turn, and there's 8 corpsmen standing there with inoculation guns. And you had to walk down through between them, right? So I had 4 jabs on each arm with these inoculation guns, and I must have jumped because when I walked out of that hangar into 100-degree sunlight, and it's, the guys are all standing there at attention. They don't know what's going on. I walk out, I got blood running down my arms and dripping off my fingers. And men started fainting like crazy. I mean, the Marines just started dropping. But then the bad thing was the next day, we were going to go the day after that. The next day, we were in our last formation, and Sergeant came out with a clipboard and it called my name. And I marched to the front of the battalion and said, "Yes, sir." He says, "You're going on mess duty for 30 days.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow. I actually tried to argue with him, which you don't do that. And didn't work. And so the next 30 days, I peeled a 10-foot pile of potatoes starting at 4 a.m. until in the evening every day, potatoes, peeling them sitting on a stool. The relevance of that is that I never saw any of those guys again.
Wow.
That I had trained with, except for a couple of situations. And so when I went to Vietnam, I was with all the other stragglers, right? And I guess where I ended up. I went to the 1st Marine Air Wing in Da Nang, and then they sent me up to the 1st Marine Division. So the 1st Marines became my home in Vietnam. And the first night I was in Vietnam, I got there late. It was monsoon. It's raining. It's pouring buckets. As you can imagine, I'm pretty anxious. And the guy led me around to get all my gear and grenades and weapons and all that stuff. And then we went to a transition tent, and he reached for the flap, and there was a bang. And it just pandemonium broke out in the tent. Medic, medic, medic. And I go, what the hell? And finally, a Marine came right out instantly. He said, "Don't go in there." And the guy that was leading me around, he left. I stood there in the rain for quite a while. They brought the dead Marine out in a poncho. And I went inside and sat down after a while and just listened. And they were talking about, they had just come out of the field. They're going home the next day, right? Wow. But they got there late, so they didn't have them turn in their gear or anything. They gave them their mail, and this guy had opened up when you got your mail, you only get it about once a month. You get it in a big packet like that. And he did what we'd all do, right? You write to a girlfriend, you're going to find her letters first, probably read the most recent one first, try to figure out what's going on. And he read his from her, and she said, "Dear John, I don't know how to tell you this, but I met somebody else. It's been a whirlwind affair, and I married him yesterday." And he never even thought. He just reached down, pulled up his pistol, and wow. And I thought, my God, it can't get any worse than this. What the heck? I was just absolutely stunned. And obviously I never forgot it. But I don't know how much you want me to talk about the war, but it was pretty bloody and not fun most of the time. Actually pretty miserable. The relevance of one of the guys I met that I had trained with, they had sent me out in the field to take documents to a company. And when I got there, they were in a firefight. They were in a battle, and I could hear the firing and stuff. And the captain said, "Well, you need to go down to the 1st platoon, and they got a prisoner, and you're going to take it back to headquarters battalion." And I said, "Okay." And he said, "Well, just go down that trail. We're in the jungle, right? And I can hear the firing and the mortars going off and stuff." So I'm walking down this trail towards it, and I get down there, and they had a prisoner. He was tied up properly, blindfolded. So I grabbed and headed out, went back to the company commander, and he goes, "Take him out to the resupply point where you came in." "By myself?" "Yes, sir." "Keep going, kid." So I went up there. I tied the prisoner to a tree. Oh, it's a palm tree, but and sat him on the ground. I tied him securely, right? And I just started doing a one-man perimeter because I'm by myself. So I'm pretty hyper alert. And then all of a sudden, these 6x, which are big trucks, come in. And they are bringing supplies. They always have gunner on them and stuff like that. I mean, there's always like a shotgun guy and so on. The first one that pulls in, next thing I know, he's, "Hey, Timmer!" And it's one of the guys I had trained with.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he flies out of the cab. We're doing, hugs and stuff. And other trucks come in. It's kind of pandemonium. I'm not doing what I should be doing. And they're backing up. And all of a sudden I hear this scream. And my friend looked at me, he's, what the hell is that? And I go, oh no. And I ran across the clearing and behind the truck, which was then pulling away from the tree. And he backed right into the tree and crushed the prisoner. Crushed his chest, his blood coming from his eyes, ears, nose, mouth. And I untied him right away and laid him down. There's no medic. There's nothing anybody could do anyway. Took his mask off and watched him die. And I thought, how many Marines are going to get killed?
Yeah,
because of this stupidity, I never got chastised for it. I think pretty evident to the people that knew what happened and so on that I was pretty, I felt really bad about it. But, it's a kind of consequence of war. I was a machine gunner on a helicopter for a while. Ronnie did that. One day I ended up fighting with a prisoner on a Huey about 2,000 feet up.
Oh, man.
For the captain's pistol.
Oh, wow.
And that captain is trying to, he decided to get rid of both of us, whatever it took. So he's flipping this helicopter from side to side, right? We're fighting over this pistol that I had told the captain, who was the pilot, when I got on there to set up my M60 machine gun, I said, sir, you need to move that pistol. And he told me to go have sex with my mother.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mind your own business, right? And the prisoner went out one side of the helicopter, the left side, when he had it flipped down, and then I went out the right side. And luckily for me, the other gunner saw, he's kind of watching what was going on. He was also firing at times. But he tried to grab me, and he didn't quite, but he hit me, and I ended up on the skid. And I'll tell you what, being honest, hanging from a skid at whatever height you are in a helicopter in a battle situation, getting back in that bird is really hard. But I did. And the relevance of that was that when I came back from the war, I would end up having pretty bad PTSD. We didn't even know what it was in those days. They didn't call it that. It was combat fatigue or whatever.
Battle fatigue, yeah.
Yeah. So, but I did come back. At the end of my tour, they made me a Mustang lieutenant for a couple months.
Nice.
I probably had 20 situations, Rich, where if an inch one way or another, I wouldn't be here. I would have never come back. So I knew I was pretty lucky, but I still didn't, I don't know. I didn't give God any credit for that at that point in my life. Got married, had a couple kids one of them, the first one, while I was in the military. But anyway, so just before I left Vietnam, a colonel came up and said, you're going to go back to corporal and you're going to get out in a couple months, because I enlisted for 2 years, or you can go to OCS and become a real live officer. I didn't have any plans. I mean, I didn't know what the hell I was going to do. So I said, okay. So I did that, went through all of the officer training, the basic school, all that stuff. And I decided I would go in the air wing. I don't really want to be going back to 1st Marine Division. So I ended up in 1st Marine Aircraft Division. 1st MAW is what they call it, MAW. And when I got there, there was a guy there who was a captain, a Mustang captain. He had been my drill instructor at Parris Island, 2.5 years before that. And I got there, and because he was a gunnery sergeant in Vietnam. I ran into him a couple times. And then he was a second lieutenant like I was, 1st lieutenant, and then he made him captain by the time I got to Cherry Point. And so I check in on a Sunday, and he's there. He's the officer of the day. Talk about a fluke.
Wow.
Yeah. So he said, well, I got some schools here. Timmer, you want to go to a school? And I said, well, what do you got? So he's rattling them off, and he says, Rhode Island. And I said, I've never been to Rhode Island before. He said, what is it? And he says, JAG school, Judge Advocate General School. I said, really? I can go to that? And he said, yeah. Monday, I'm in Judge Advocate School in Rhode Island.
Wow.
And with 99 real live lawyers. They're all captains in the Marine Corps. They've all graduated from law school. They all went through all the officer training, right? 20 of us rented a mansion because it was the off season. We each had our own room, and they're like partying and stuff because they graduated, and all this stuff. And I'm kind of like the low man. I'm a combat veteran, so they, a little respect, but to them, I'm just a schmuck, right? I don't have a college education. And they treated me fine and everything, but I'm just saying that. So anyway, I made a decision not to drink during the week. And I was just, I'm going to work at this. See, the Marine Corps almost got me killed. And then it gave me a whole life,
right?
A career as a lawyer. And when we left there, I think it was a 12-week course on the UCMJ, Uniform Code of Military Justice. And I was the class honor man.
Wow.
I had the highest scores. So I went back to Cherry Point, and they made me a defense lawyer. And I had a couple cases, and I got one guy was sleeping on watch, was like a death sentence in the Marine Corps. You got caught sleeping on watch, that's a couple of years in Fort Leavenworth and a dishonorable discharge. Guaranteed. And somehow I came up with a witness, and now the jury in a military trial is not your peers. It was like a colonel, a major, captain, so on and so forth. And anyway, long story short, the guy was acquitted.
Oh.
Yeah. And then I had another one. So you know how they solved that problem? They made me prosecutor. And I'm on the list to go back to Vietnam, probably as a forward observer because of my experience. And every time it was getting close for me to go, all of a sudden I'd have orders from my friend, who is now the adjutant. And when I left there, I'm a first lieutenant, and he was a gunnery sergeant again. And he would send me down to the naval base at Roosevelt Roads in Puerto Rico.
Nice.
To do the Article 32 trials for a month. And then I come back and I look at the list, and I'm not at the top anymore. This happened twice. And finally, the second time I said, geez, if this happens again, I probably won't make it back to Vietnam. He said, you dumb son of a gun. Why do you think you keep going to Puerto Rico? He said, I know if you go back to Vietnam, you will get killed for sure. So I had a guardian angel. That's what I meant when I said that. And so when I got out after 3 years of being an officer, I went to Syracuse and went to college, got my degrees, and ended up being a lawyer for the next 40 years. And Ronnie came back from Vietnam. He did 2 tours, and he damn near got himself killed too, but he made it also. And next thing I know, he's hanging out with our mother's best friend, Edie, who's divorced with 7 kids.
Wow.
And he married her. She was a beautiful, beautiful person. And they got very involved in the Mormon church. And Ronnie became a bishop and for 5 years, and did a lot of funerals and services and all that kind of stuff. And then when the kids got a little older, they actually moved to Utah. And they were out there, and we didn't see each other hardly like once a year, which is kind of weird when I look back on it, because we would get together like one day a year, right? And they would rent a cottage up on Lake Ontario for a week, and that's how we get. Because some of the kids stay in the east, and some went to the west coast, and we would get together. My younger brother Marty likes to imbibe, so we'd get going pretty good. And I just remember, I feel bad about this in a way, but it was kind of funny. We would be, mocking Ronnie, because Ronnie doesn't drink, right? He's a bishop of the Mormon church. Ronnie's perfect. Everybody loves Ronnie. He never has any fun. And I know Ronnie's on watching this thing too. I feel kind of bad about that, but that was sort of the way it was. We didn't spend much real time together, and but I felt like we were still close, just because of our background and everything. And my siblings and I have always been very tight, which is good. A lot of families, it's not that way. But so Edie had a massive stroke in 2011, ended up in a wheelchair, and she never got better. She got worse, many strokes and stuff. But Ron took care of her 24/7 for over 6 years. He wouldn't let anybody else take care of her, but he was running, the funny part about doing the Appalachian Trail in our 70s is that we were both pretty good shape physically. Ron, I didn't know this until after she died, but he was running every day, and he would put her in her wheelchair by the window, and then he would go out and run and just run by the house every little while to make sure she was all right and stuff like that. I ran 26 marathons. I was a weekend warrior my whole pretty much adult life. Ran 26 marathons. I ran every weekend. And then in the wintertime, I'd cross-country ski race pretty much all over North America. I did the Lake Placid Olympic course 5 times in amateur races.
Wow.
Yeah. So my point is that we were both always kept ourselves pretty good shape. And otherwise, we never could have tackled the Appalachian Trail in our early 70s. So I was talking to Ronnie after Edie died, November 22nd. She just had an anniversary here. And so what are you going to do? And he said, well, I'm going to hike the Appalachian Trail. I said, well, that's crazy. I had hiked quite a bit in the Smoky Mountains, in the Tennessee, North Carolina border area, and Clements Dome, and up through there, Pisgah, and that's a forever wild. That's a really crazy area. And I don't know, there's something about veterans. Sometimes we just, in order not to explode, we need to take off and just go have an adventure. And for me, that would be just disappear in the mountains by myself, stay out a couple nights and have fake charges with bears and stuff like that. That really happened, man. It was not funny at the time.
Now.
Yeah. So I knew quite a bit about the mountains, but anyway, I went out to in January to see Ron, and because I didn't think he would be serious, actually. And we were hiking in the Utah desert, and he said, I'm going to hike the Appalachian Trail. I go, hey, bro, what? How are you going to do that? I asked him when. He said, March 22nd. This was in January of 2018. I said, of 2018? He goes, yes. And I thought, well, that's crazy. And I said, how are you going to do it? He says, I'm going to get on a bus, go to Springer Mountain, and start walking to Ketterton Mountain in Maine. It's 2,200 miles. It is. The elevation changes in the Appalachian Trail are 465,000 feet, almost 500,000 feet of elevation changes. Over 600 mountains, 300 of them are named. Every state has a Bear Mountain, it seems like, 14 states. And I mean, it is just an unbelievable, it is the longest footpath only trail in the whole world. A lot of people don't know that. But what I didn't know was that Ronnie had actually done a lot of hiking, that Ronnie had already done a ton of research, had the maps, he'd bought a lot of the equipment that he needed. And I said, I'll go with you. He said, really? And I said, yeah. So March 22nd, we had both driven down to Springer Mountain, Georgia, where it starts, with 2 vehicles. And in a snowstorm, we started hiking the Appalachian Trail.
Wow. You had to add to it.
Yeah, I have a picture of Ronnie in the book. I wrote a book about it, and you can see it here. And it's called The Spiritual Passage, because in the book, not only did we write about how we did the hike itself, I'm on a daily journal basis, right? With pictures. I have 500 color pictures in there. I took 5,000. So if somebody was interested in how does somebody hike the Appalachian Trail on a daily basis, they could actually see how we did it and even copy it if they wanted to. There's roads crossing the Appalachian Trail on the average every 10 to 15 miles. So we had 2 vehicles. So what we would do is, like, if we're on, we were, most of the time we parked right on the Appalachian Trail, wherever the road was that crossed it, right? And then Ronnie would drive down the mountain in the morning, go down to the next point, and go up where the road, usually they're really bad dirt roads. They were not good roads, most of them. And then he would get on the trail. He would hike south and I would hike north. So we would meet each other in the middle. And then he would get my truck and come back around, and then usually we would just stay where he had parked. And then the next day we do the same thing. Now there's a lot of sections, Rich. You can't do that. You can't. Priest is, I think it's 35 miles, no roads. There's there's 2 sections of 35 miles in the Smoky Mountains, and some other places that we had to use a full pack. But we averaged 11 miles a day. With a full pack, we averaged about 10. That extra weight really wears on you pretty bad. But I fell down every day. I broke 4 hiking poles.
Wow.
I had an artificial knee in my left leg. My right leg is a half inch shorter from motorcycle accidents and all the running and everything I did. They took out my medial meniscus and anterior cruciate ligaments in 2006. No, it was before that. I was 27, whatever. So all that running, my right leg was a half inch shorter than my left. So I limped. I like to brag, I'm the limpiest man that ever hiked the Appalachian Trail. And Ron's son, Rick, took a video of me. And when I saw it, we were looking at some of the pictures and videos that he had taken, because he hiked the first 2 weeks and the last 2 weeks, basically. And I said, man, that guy limped real bad. And Rick goes, that's you.
No.
So it was an amazing hike. I could tell you stories all day long. Some are pretty funny. So one day in June of 2018, I'm hiking up by myself, and we always left early in the morning. And so a lot of those hikers didn't even start until like 9-10 o'clock. By then we would have already walked 2 or 3, 4 miles. But I hear somebody coming up behind me. So I turn around, and we all had trail names. Everybody, has a trail name. Ronnie's trail name was Attitude Indicator, which is an instrument on a flight panel on an airplane. It tells you the attitude of the airplane in relationship to the horizon. He was a commercial pilot. That's what he did after he came back, ended up doing, and mostly mail and stuff like that. Although eventually he ended up being flying tourists through the Grand Canyon. That was pretty exciting. So I'm hiking up this mountain. I hear these people behind me, and I turn around and I see Growler and Coors Light, his girlfriend, and another girl, and they're naked.
Oh boy.
They have no clothes on. And I'm going, what the heck? And Growler looks like, now Growler he looked like Paul Bunyan. He's like in his 30s, probably, just big, solid guy, head higher than me, full beard, just looked like a mountain man. And I said, what's going on, Growler? And he says, man, you didn't get the memo. It's Naked Day on the Appalachian Trail. And I said, well, I'm going to do everybody a favor and leave my clothes on.
Outstanding.
Yeah. So I pulled over and let him go by me. And then I started following him up the hill. But somehow Growler went from being in front to being in back. So I'm hiking up Hogback Mountain behind these 3 with Growler being right more or less in front of me. And he had as much hair on his back as he did on his face almost. So I pulled over. I said, I'm just going to give him a while and let him get out of sight. And then when I got to the top, they had to close back. I didn't see anybody else naked that day, but
thank God.
Yeah, that was one of the funniest things that happened. A lot of critters. There was a stretch there in the Shenandoah Mountains where we saw bear every day practically. And one of them was amazing. Ronnie saw the bears first. Now we didn't hike together most of the time, right? Because he's going south and I'm going north. But he would say, I saw a bear. And I finally saw a bear one day. And it was quite a ways up the trail. And it just went off the side and out of sight. Didn't make a sound. I ran up there, tried to take a picture of it. But it was gone. I never did see it again. The very next day, Rich, I come around a corner. And there is a huge black bear standing right in front of me. I swear, not more than 15 feet away.
Oh, man.
And he froze like this. One paw on the ground, one paw in the midair. His head looks like a bowling ball. I mean, he's huge, humongous. He's staring right at me. I'm staring right at him. And all I could think of is, well, this is the most fantastic beast I've ever seen. He was glistening. His fur was as black could be, and it was shiny. I swear, I felt like, I don't know, it was just a unique, wonderful thing. I'm like, and I should have been scared, right? I mean, I should have been, but I'm like, I gotta get a picture of this. And I reached behind me to get my phone from underneath my pack out of my back pocket. And I did it real slow. And we're frozen. We got staring eye to eye. And I bring that phone out. And just as soon as I started bringing it up, that bear went, he turned around. I did not. If he had wanted to get me, Rich, I could have had a 35 or a 38 in my hand aimed at him, and he still would have got me. He moved so fast, ran down the trail, and then took a left, and he did not go quiet. And another hiker walks right up behind me as soon as he goes off the trail, and he goes, "What's that?" And it sounded like a bulldozer going down the mountain. Trees are falling, rocks and boulders are flying. I mean, it was horrific. And I said, "That's a bear." And he said, "No way, that's a bear." I said, "That was a bear. That was a real life." Yeah, that was unbelievable. And then about a little while later, after that, I realized that was scary. I finally realized, man, I could have gone a whole different way, but it didn't. So
that's amazing.
Yeah.
I'm sure that journey was great. I always hear people talk about doing the trail and planning out camping or planning out stops with people along the way at their houses and stuff. I've never heard anyone do it the way you and your brother did with the leapfrog driving. That's a pretty interesting way of doing it, and probably one of a more preferred route, because then you have your car at the end anyway. So it's awesome.
Yeah, actually, there were other people in their 60s that we ran into. You get into these bubbles where you're kind of with the same people every day, and then they take a day off, and then my brother and I, most people would take at least one day a week off. We would say, okay, we're going to have a 0 day tomorrow. We've already hiked 10 days in a row. And we would get up the next day and we'd be looking at each other and we go, what are we going to do? We might as well go hike. Okay, let's go. And we would just go. We went 33 days in one stretch.
Wow.
30 in another. I got a real bad infection, almost ended up septic, ended up in urgent care and then a hospital at one point. And then finally got out of there. Ronnie was playing in the Appalachian Trail with some horses. There's some wild horses there in one section. He went there while I was recuperating. But then I came back. I fell down a rock slide and got hurt really bad in Massachusetts, Wilcox Mountain. That was bad. And we ended up going off the trail for 30 days at that point. And then Ronnie called me up and said, "You want to try to finish it?" And I said, okay. So I went back. But nice. So it took us 2 years to go 1,800. We got into the Whites, which is in New Hampshire. That's where Mount Washington is. And that's the coldest mountain in North America. I think the record is, the windiest, 246 mile per hour winds. Snows every month there. When we got there, that was closed. So we went above it and did Moosilauke, and then we did Wolf. And then we were going to go back to do Washington Mountain, which would have been a 3 day. That's another one of those stretches. But then I know we both lost like 30 pounds. And I was in real bad pain from my fall on the mountain in Wilcox there. That was so funny too. Not funny, but I got all the way up to the top. No, Moosilauke. I said, no, it was Wilcox. It was Wilcox Mountain. This was earlier in Massachusetts. You see rock slides on the Appalachian Trail. A lot of times you go across them sideways. So that's not so bad, right? But every once in a while you come to the bottom of one and you say, there's no way. The trail goes up there. And then you look all the way up and you see a white blaze mark. You go, oh my God, I got to climb that. Well, that's the way it was on Wilcox Mountain. And I was within 10 feet of the top, Rich. I climbed up all these boulders and rocks and everything. And my pole slipped. And if I had just fallen forward, I would have bloodied my hands and stuff like that. But I stabbed as hard as I could. And when I did, it whipped me around 180 degrees, and I tried to overcorrect with the other one, and it slid, and I did a swan dive off that thing. So now instead of falling face forward, a few feet, I'm swan diving like 20 feet. And I closed my eyes because I knew it was going to hurt. But, and I had got hurt before in other places like Vietnam. Yes. And I closed my eyes, and when I landed, I'm like, oh my God, I've never felt pain like this in my whole life. It was just unbelievable. And when I could finally open my eyes, I realized my left foot had gotten wedged between two rocks. Otherwise, I would have been killed for sure.
Yeah.
And I crawled to the top of the mountain, which wasn't very far. And then I finally got up, and I realized I can't climb back down this thing. I'd already gone 3 miles. I got to go 9 miles to get out. So I went the 9 miles because the path was earthen and so on. I ran into Ronnie, and he saw me. I mean, my arms are bloody, my elbows, my hands, everything. And he said, "You all right?" I said, "No." I said, "Well, what are you going to do?" I said, "I'm going to walk out. I can't do anything else." And the next day when I got up in the morning, I couldn't move. So that was one of our respites.
Yeah.
But after 30 days, he called me up again. He said, "You want to try to finish it?" I said, "Sure."
Yes, let's do it.
So Ronnie finished it with his son, Rick, without me. And while they were hiking up to Catadin Mountain, I was having my hip replaced.
Wow.
So I only did 1,800 and I think it was 36 miles.
You say only, people have only done a mile on the trail, so 1,800 is a lot.
Yeah. So Ronnie did the whole thing and Rick helped him at the end. The end is really difficult too. You got the 100-mile wilderness. And so the book has pictures of all that in there. It has, I will go into a lot of detail about my recovery program because alcohol really got me in my late 50s, early 60s, and bad. I ended up in suicidal situations a couple times, and I ended up my first visit to the VA. I was 67 years old in handcuffs. They took me to a psych center. It had 3 doors. It was real easy to get in those 3 doors, but it was really hard to get out.
It's a way different combination to come out.
Yeah, exactly. After about 3 days, I'm sobering up and everything, and I realized I'm not crazy, right? I'm just a drunk. These people have real serious problems. The other people in there had real serious. There was a captain in there, had been a company commander in Vietnam in the Army. And the psych center was 4 long hallways that crossed in the middle like this. And he and I would walk side by side. We would walk those hallways all day long, just talking to each other. And he never recovered from his trauma from the Vietnam War. And he had been a captain. He was a company commander. That was a really tough job because now you're responsible for the men that are getting killed. And he didn't make it. He was really messed up. But eventually I devoted myself to getting sober, and I did a 12-step program and changed my whole life. And I made a spiritual connection. I finally admitted I was powerless over alcohol. And if I cannot stop drinking myself, then I need a power, and it's obviously got to be outside of me, and it's got to be greater than me. So it's got to be a higher power. And I devoted myself to that, and I did the deal. And, after a year, I had completed the 12 steps, and a young guy asked me to be his sponsor, and I freaked out and said, "I don't know, man. Come back tomorrow. We'll talk about it." I went to my sponsor and said, "Billy, you won't believe what happened. This young kid asked me to be his sponsor." And I was sure, Rich, he would say, "You're not ready." I've only had like 13 months of sobriety. And Billy said, "No, Rand, that's good. Go for it, man. You'll be good. You'll be okay. If you got a problem, you can talk to me." I said, "Billy, I'm not ready." And he goes, "Rand, you're ready. You got a lot of bad experience." Drinking, right? Yeah, I got a lot of bad experience, all right. And now you got some good experience.
There you go.
Yeah. And ever since then, Rich, I've been working with other guys every day, pretty much. I spend 3 or 4 hours a day between meetings and doing stuff like that to help keep men sober. And I've been doing a lot of writing and written a couple other books and hang out with various veteran groups.
Nice.
And I have a lot of joy in my life today.
That is outstanding. And the fact that it took you getting basically escorted into the VA, getting through those 3 doors to shine the light on you and see that it had that power over you. But you said way earlier about even before you went to Vietnam, before you started talking about Vietnam, the guardian angel you had there that helped you to come home when others did not. And then even on the trail, that guardian angel was still with you. When you were on that climb, we could have lost you right there. We would not be here, or that bear could have got you. Everything, all these things that could have got you along the way were setting you up to help others. And you're doing that still. And you did that even as a lawyer. You helped, like you said earlier, as the defense attorney, you were able to get guys a different direction than they wanted them to go to. You were able to help them out. And then as a prosecutor, you did things all throughout upstate New York for 40 years. That's a long time to do that job and see all these different things. And I'm sure seeing what the people that you were working against and drinking and doing all that, you had that mindset that I had to drink because this is what we do in this business. This is what we do here. And I'm dealing with this. So I had to. But now you're free and clear and you're able to help others without that vice on your back, that monkey on your back telling you, hey, let's go to the bar or let's get that Jim Beam again. It's funny you said Jim Beam. I had a guy on Thursday. His first drink was Johnny Walker Red. And that was his first thing he drank. Wow, two weird choices, but all right.
Yeah, well, that was just luck of the draw. Yeah, what I didn't talk about was when I came back from Vietnam and was married and had kids, and I had just gotten out of law school, I believe. No, I was in law school. And I woke up one night, I woke up and I thought I was in a battle in Vietnam. And all heck is breaking loose, and I can smell the gunpowder, and I can, and then all of a sudden my guts are hanging out.
Oh, wow.
See, I had gone on a mission in Vietnam. I joined a reaction platoon. I went on a mission, and we ran out of ammo, and I had used my bayonet to survive. So then, 5 years later, and I'm thinking, I'm fine. I came back. I'm not like these other guys. I'm not drinking all the time and not doing anything. I've got my education. I'm working. I was self-employed as a lawyer for 4 decades. And I was good. So that happened. And then I was I'm sitting there screaming because I know I'm going to die. I'm like, this time, Rand, you're not getting out of this one. And all of a sudden I'm bathed in this white light, and I opened my eyes, and my wife is laying on the floor, and she flicked up the switch to the light. So she had turned on the light, and I realized I'm not in Vietnam. I'm not in a battle, but I am covered with sweat, not blood. But I can smell the manure in the urine because I had voided the bed. I had totally messed up the bed. And my wife and I looked at each other, and we knew that I wasn't all right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I started using alcohol to medicate at nighttime. I put the kids to bed. My wife would go to bed. I would drink like a maniac for an hour and go to bed. I never need more than 4 or 5 hours of sleep, and then I'd just go to work. But so I knew I had made a conscious decision I would never do drugs, and I never did because I knew the alcohol. I just liked it so much. And then when it turned on me, spiritus is Latin for alcohol. So alcohol became my God. Yes. I'm only relating this because if there are people in your audience who are struggling, my book might help them because they can see the journey I went on, that if a guy like me can get sober with my background and my experiences, anybody can. But you got to have that higher power that you were talking about, Rich. You got to have a connection with something greater than yourself. It's been proven over and over again. And, 4 million, 5 million people have benefited from the program that I'm in. So, and it keeps growing every day, pretty much.
It's a good thing it grows, but it's a bad thing that it has to grow at the same time, that there's so many people that are suffering through that addiction and have to go through that battle to become part of that program. But it's also good that that program is there to help and show them that there is something way better on the other side. Program and this VA is way better than. It's amazing how they have progressed, and I'm a member of some groups that deal with suicidal veterans,
It's a real problem, but now there are a lot of resources. There were no resources for my guys when we came back from Vietnam. There was nothing, absolutely nothing. And it stayed that way for decades.
Yes. And I tell that to people all the time. If it wasn't for your generation really going through that hardship of not really getting the treatment you deserved, being treated like you were less than real people when you came home because of politics, the political climate within the country at the time, causing a protest, causing you guys to look like baby killers or whatever they've labeled you as. If you guys went to the VA, even if you were missing a limb, oh, that's not service connected. But your generation's mindset was, okay, I got to go to work. So you just go to work. And you didn't think about it like you talked about that captain who never got the help, or you even never got the help until you walked through the doors. Right. And it's because you didn't think, you were too proud, and your mindset was, I'm healthy, I can do this. I have to do this. But the battles that your generation went through set it up for the GWAT veterans now. As we came out, the VA's like just handing things to us where they didn't hand it to you guys. I mean, the medical care still is iffy at times, but it's there. You can still choose to take it and do what they're going to do with you, or ask for another option where you didn't even have that choice. So we appreciate the battles you went through for us, and the next generation hopefully will even feel better with the stuff we've proven to help us, not help us, and helps them in the future.
Right. And there are all kinds of veterans, not-for-profit organizations out there now helping each other, particularly with suicidal things. I'm involved in one called The Power of Our Story. If they Google that, that will open up a whole chain of different organizations that are out there trying to help veterans who are dealing with addiction problems and or suicide. A lot of times those things go together, you know. Yes. But it's getting better. I believe it in my heart.
100%. And you shared your life journey on here, and we blazed through 55 minutes with your story, and we laughed some. I was shocked at some, and I'm sure the audience was shocked at some. We didn't really get to talk about where to get your book and how to find it. So if you don't mind, just dive a little into the book and where to find it and resources that are in the book that can help the audience.
Sure. Thank you very much. Yeah, my website is randtimmerman.com. It's just lowercase my name, Rand Timmerman, no dots or anything, .com. Actually, if you just Google a spiritual passage, it will pop right up. You can get it on Amazon, thrift books, or whatever. If they want to go to my website, which you're showing at the bottom right there now, there's the links there to various bookstores, including Amazon. Or they can email me. My email's on there too. And this will put your program on there also. So, yeah, if anybody emails me and they want some help, I will try to help them best I can. I have actually sent books out. I've signed them and sent them out to people that I was told might benefit from it. Actually, in one case, by a host of a website.
Wow.
After we got done doing the program, he talked to me about his father having a real serious problem. And I said, well, send me his address. I'll send him the book. And he didn't do it right away. And then finally he sent me an email with the address. Says, don't tell him it's from me. Don't even mention my name. And I sent it out, Rich, figuring, I'm just shooting a little, spark of hope out there. And
right.
Most likely nothing's good. I got an email back about 5 weeks later, and it just said, I don't know why you sent me this book, but I read it and I decided I'm going to try something different.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So now we know how to get in contact with you, how to get the book. And I know since you watched some of our shows, the last question that comes up is, what's 3 things the Misfit Nation can start doing tomorrow to be better people?
I think watch your program. I think you have a lot of really good programs. If you know somebody that's suffering with addiction, there's all kinds of, there's an anonymous program out there just for alcoholics. You can try that one. And have a spiritual life. Don't give up. One step at a time. The motto of my book says on the back is one step at a time. We can do almost anything one step at a time. You don't have to just sit on the couch and wait for the end. I'm 80 years old now. I'm still walking 7 or 8 miles a day. I'm not bragging. I'm just saying I'm keeping active so I can have the joy of a life where I can be on podcasts and talk about things that might help other people to be inspired, right?
Definitely, yes.
Yeah. So it's all about being inspired. Other people have inspired me. I would not be here if my sponsor hadn't inspired me to do the things he had done to get sober. So I'm just passing it along. I'm a vessel. There's nothing special about me. Really, I'm not a big guy or anything like that. So
I think what you're doing is awesome. What you've done with the trail, that's awesome. Only 1,800 miles. I mean, just to say it's only 1,800 miles, there's someone that probably fell out of their rocking chair right now saying only 18 miles. My God. But you're an inspiration to your generation, to our generation, to the next generation, because not a lot of people would put themselves into that or still walk 7-8 miles a day at 80 years old and show that you can live a full life. You don't have to, once you turn off the work button, just stop. You can keep pushing forward and do great things in life.
Yes, sir.
You're an inspiration, and thank you, Rand, for all you've done.
Thank you.
And again, thanks for being on tonight, and thanks for being in Tennessee. It makes it a lot easier. Enjoy your week. Have a great Thanksgiving, and safe travels back to upstate New York.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Rich.
Yes, sir. Misfit Nation, thanks for tuning in tonight. This is Sunday of Thanksgiving week, and this is a hard week for many people. Yesterday was the 18th anniversary of the loss of Staff Sergeant Jonathan L. Martin. He died on November 22nd, 2007, after being wounded November 9th of that year in Iraq. And he was my best friend, and losing him was a gut punch to me, a gut punch to all those in Devil X-Ray and all those he was ever around, because he was that human. He was that guy who always made you laugh and was always out front. So we always will keep his memory alive here. Sally, we're always thinking of you, brother. As me and Rand just talking about, if you're in the darkness, if you're feeling that tidal wave of life getting over you, just stop and think. There are people that love you. There's people out there that when they wake up tomorrow, they want you there. And the day tomorrow with you is 100% better than one without you. Keep that in your head. Look in your wallet on that 1-inch piece of paper with those 3 names on there that are your closest friends. Call them. They want to hear from you. Talk to them and be there the next day. If you don't want to do that, dial 988. Follow the prompts. It works. We know it works. And if all else fails, contact us. info@themisfitnation.com, jake@themisfitnation.com, or steven@themisfitnation.com. And we will answer your call. Until next time on Tuesday with Tuesday Crew, you have a great night tonight and take care of your families. We love you.
Thanks for checking us out and being a part of the Misfit Nation show. Don't forget to visit our website at themisfitnation.com. That's themisfitnation.com. Check out all our past episodes and get some of the great Misfit Nation gear for you and your family. As always, be humble, stay hungry, and keep hustling, because we are
Misfit Nation. Misfit Nation.
Hey, Ryan Reynolds here. Wishing you a very happy half-off holiday, because right now Mint Mobile is offering you the gift of 50% off unlimited. To be clear, that's half price, not half the service. And Mint is still premium unlimited wireless for a great price. So that means a half day. Yeah? Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed slow after 35 gigabytes if network's busy. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.